It has definitely been a minute since I've made one of these videos, and time off because of focusing on other things, whatnot. But I think with Doom Eternal coming on the horizon, this is one of the best excuses to get back into making content and making some great content centered all around Doom and Doom Eternal. And that means today that we're going to dive into what I'm calling the 7 design principles that are absolutely guaranteed to make Doom one of the best, if not the best game of 2020. Welcome back. My name is ImageOmega, and if you're like me, you have Doom Eternal on the mind because it is about a month away, and that cannot come soon enough. Now, that being said, there are some things about Doom Eternal that I've been noticing as I've been watching, digesting all this content that's been putting out. And it's whenever the developers talked about the game, they always had this lingo, these specific design principles that they kept mentioning over and over. And I think when you're working with a team or working on a project, you have to have these guiding principles in order to make the project successful. With big companies, they call it your mission statement. With Doom Eternal, I think they simply can be called design principles. And I found 7 themes that I kept hearing over and over again, and I want to talk about those today because I think they are absolutely what makes Doom Eternal so special. Now, Doom 2016, when it came back, was a return to form for id, right? And, before the game actually released, I think that they were slightly nervous and wondering how receptive the audience was going to be. In fact, they even put a multiplayer beta out for Doom 2016, and it was received with such negative feedback. People just hated it. So that didn't really bode well for the single player experience that was attached to Doom 2016. But once the single player campaign came out, it was a completely different beast. The multiplayer, the single player, they almost had nothing to do with each other besides existing in the same world. So Doom 2016 lived by 2 of these first design principles. So that brings us to design principle number 1, which was push forward combat. Push forward combat in a nutshell meant that you were always on the offensive. You were always being aggressive. If you've played any modern first-person shooter, you know that there's a lot of mechanics that will let you hide, take cover, and while you're hiding and taking cover, you're either regenerating some sort of shield or health. With Doom 2016, that wasn't the case. And you didn't solely rely on just pickups that were strewn about the world. In order for you to get your health back, you actually gained the most health by running up and smashing, ripping and tearing demons right in their face. Hence the name, push forward combat. In order for you to do well and succeed, you had to be aggressive and you had to be up in the face of all those demons. But beyond getting your health back, there was also this little problem of ammunition. So how did you get back ammo? The most efficient way was using the chainsaw, which doesn't sound like it makes sense whatsoever. But that chainsaw, that melee combat with the chainsaw, was actually a mechanic where if you ripped through an enemy with the chainsaw, you were actually rewarded with a showering of ammo coming your way. So that became the dance, so to speak, where you would have health, and then you'd have ammo, and you had to make sure you're always replenishing those resources. There was a third resource of your armor, but basically you were rewarded for continuously pushing through and finding combat being aggressive. Which leads us to design principle number 2, and that was combat chess. Now the game Doom 2016 was fun because of how all the pieces were laid out in front of you, right? Imagine this. The demons themselves are all the enemy chess pieces right in front of you, and you had to figure out which chess piece the AI was going to throw your way and how you would, I guess, prioritize the lay of the land or the board sitting in front of you. Your chess pieces, well, of course, there was yourself, but it was really all the different skills, the different weapons, the different elements of progress that you were unlocking that really brought the strategy to the forefront. So if you had the right tool for the right job, you were going to get the job done very efficiently and effective. Now with Doom 2016, if that was chess combat, Hugo Martin, the creative director of the game, refers to Doom Eternal as speed chess. I don't know about you, but if you've ever played speed chess, one, making the right chess move, especially if you're not that good at the game, can be kind of daunting. But then adding this factor that you have to hurry up and make a decision, that just kind of complicates things in a way, right? Well, with Doom Eternal, it complicates things in the best way. Because not only are you forced to make decisions, but because enemies now have these certain weak points, the strategy changes as far as which weapon you're going to use for the job. No longer are you going to just focus on just damage output. You actually want to prioritize demons based on how you want to kill them, exploiting their weak points, and then going on to the next one, or I guess figuring out which enemy you're going to tackle next. All at the same time, you're moving throughout this world, moving your chess piece and making sure that you are in the best position to take advantage of the scenario, the environment, as well as in the best defensive position, so you're not just eating damage from everywhere. Especially if you've ever played Doom 2016 on Nightmare, you don't get many chances to make mistakes. If you make one or two mistakes, that could most certainly spell death for you. And I heard that Doom Eternal is going to be even more punishing. Just as punishing on Ultraviolence and even more punishing on Nightmare. One of the coolest parts of Doom 2016 and now Doom Eternal is that throughout the game, they're actually always introducing new chess pieces, right? They even said that in the second half of Doom Eternal, they're going to introduce even new demons. So you're always going to be met with this new challenge or this new twist, and then along the way, you're progressing your Slayer, so you have your own chess pieces to manage and figure out, which one do you actually want to actively use to your advantage. How you play the game is going to be up to you. They have said over and over again that they've now polished these chess pieces. So the analogy goes that they've now turned the Mancubus into a tank, into an Abrams tank, so it's supposed to deal out and dish out damage, and so that's what it does. Design principle number 3, the race car and the racetrack. Doom 2016 was already a race car. I mean, when you got your hands on the Slayer and you started playing, it was fun right out of the gate. And that's what Doom is supposed to be, just in a nutshell, right? Just like if you saw a nice car, saw a Lamborghini, you would see it, it's like, oh, that looks cool. Then you get to kind of test drive it, like, oh, okay, this handle's nice, and away you go. Like immediately you can appreciate the car and appreciate the fun behind the wheel. But just because you appreciate driving a Lamborghini doesn't mean that you'll drive it well. Being able to drive a car isn't the same thing as being able to masterfully drive a sports car. So what they do for Doom Eternal? Well, they souped up that car even more. So you're even more of a demon slaying machine. Now here's where they kind of got stuck, and here's where the design principles really help out. When they souped up the car, they noticed that the track was a little bit too small for this souped up version of the car. It wasn't as fun to drive on this track because the track wasn't challenging enough. It wasn't pushing the engine, if you will. Well, then you have to make the track better. You have to make the track bigger. It has to be more challenging for the car. So that way it takes full advantage of all the capabilities that the car has. And that's exactly what they did with Doom Eternal. They made the enemies more challenging. They brought out new enemies. Just from watching it, have these different abilities that are going to force you to think a little bit more about what you want to do and when you want to do it. And that brings us to design principle number 4, which I'm actually going to combine 2 in 1 here, because this one, they've said from the very beginning that they refer to Doom Eternal as more of a combat puzzle. Now the word puzzle in your shooter can kind of sound off-putting. It almost sounds like you're going to be doing some shooting and then you're going to be doing some puzzle solving. Well, they're referring to it as a combat puzzle because the puzzle itself is how are you going to take care of all these enemies and manage your resources the most effectively. And what they said is, if you're doing those things, here's the next kind of mini design principle, that you're going to stay inside what they call the fun zone. The fun zone is managing your resources, weapon switching at the appropriate times, adjusting to the lay of the land using your dash and double jump, or I guess even in this case going to be your meat hook. And then as you progress, diving deeper into the progression system and really unlocking the full kit of the Slayer. So this is going to lead the player to thinking constantly about how to approach a fight. Because in Doom 2016, I mean, really, If you brought out the super shotgun and the rocket launcher, those were the only two tools you needed. That's not the most fun way to play. And so since Doom Eternal, they realized that, but what they're saying is if you're not taking advantage of weak points, they're going to punish you for it. And so essentially, they're going to kill the player, which forces you to learn, forces you to adapt. So that way, you take advantage of enemies having certain weak points. The Rectitron is going to have this turret on top of it. If you shoot that off, then all of a sudden the fight changes. Because when he has a turret, he's shooting you from far away, kind of keeping his distance, lobbing some grenades at you. When that turret is gone, then it'll be looking to close the distance and swipe at you with its little, I don't know what those things are, claws, piercers, whatever you call them. And that leads us to design principle number 5, and that is the Doom dance. And in Doom 2016, the dance was actually very limited. You, again, like we already said, you could just run up and just shotgun every single demon in the face. With Doom Eternal, they're going to push the envelope with their variety of landscapes. And so far, we've only seen the first few hours of the game. I can only imagine how these landscapes are going to change and really force the player to think differently. With the inclusion of elements in the level like the monkey bars or being able to dash in the air, that dance that you do is going to be far superior and way more fun than Doom 2016, because your movement is going to be absolutely crucial to how you best handle the situation and really how much fun you're having. If you're stuck in one place, the game's going to punish you. Especially, again, like we said, at the higher difficulty levels, if you were in one place for too long, those imps would close on you and close on you fast, and it was only a few swipes before it meant certain death. And so that means you also have to learn the dance. So if you were used to running up and gunning a demon in the face, this time you're going to get punished for it. And so you might need to take a few steps back, think, you know what, hold on, I have a grenade that I can use, an ice grenade. I'll keep that demon frozen that way, and then maybe I'll run up and shotgun it in the face. And so that thinking really changes how you're going to move, how you're going to operate, how you're going to fire, and then essentially that's you learning the Doom dance. And then even when you destroy these weak points of the enemies, well, the dance is going to change then too, since their AI may change. Or maybe you see some enemies where it's like, if I killed them with their weak point, they're going to explode, take out that group over there, and then I can prioritize my focus over here. Hey, you're dancing now. Now, design principle number 6 is actually one of my favorites, and that's referring to the progression system like martial arts belts. Everybody starts with a white belt, right? And you know, some people progress through their white belt faster than others, and that's exactly what's going to happen with Doom Eternal. It's going to pop up some tutorials, let you know what to do, but if you've played Doom 2016, you might kind of progress through those first opening areas faster than normal. Doom Eternal, since it has some new mechanics, it's going to be teaching you some new things along the way. And Hugo Martin described that as kind of earning a stripe on your belt. So once you kind of earn all those stripes that you need at white belt level, and you get that next blue belt, then you're going to have new things to learn and be able to use all the same skills that you learned at white belt and apply it to your newfound skills that you're now developing as a blue belt. So it's taking the foundation and then building upon it. So as you learn and you're getting those stripes on your belt, you're progressing through the game and you're progressing as a player. One of the best things about this is that all the stuff that you're going to learn in single player is going to be directly transferable to multiplayer, because battle mode, if you haven't heard, which is the name of their multiplayer mode, is going to be 2 demons versus 1 player. So that's 2 human players operating as the demons versus 1 human player operating as the Doomslayer. Now those demons have multiple things at their disposal, but it's going to be utilizing the same kind of mechanics or same kind of enemies that you would see in the single player campaign. And then as far as the Doomslayer, he's going to have the full arsenal, the full kit that you have in single player to use at his disposal. So if you get really good at managing those resources and managing those tools, you're going to have those skills be directly transferable to you being able to win in battle mode. The biggest key difference is you're going to be against actual players, right? If you've ever played any other first-person shooter like Quake 3 and you played against the bots, they weren't too challenging. They were very predictable. They kind of did certain things and they just moved around the level in a certain, bot-like fashion. With players, with humans, you're going to receive a degree of unpredictability, which means that you're going to have to change up your strategy all the time, and you're really going to have to adapt to the situation at hand. How do you do that? Man, you earn your stripes, learn the lessons, Advance your belt rank, that way you can take on more challenges and be even more successful. The seventh and last design principle that I've heard over and over again is they call Doom Eternal junk food. But they also call it junk food that actually has some nutritional content behind it. Gosh, isn't that how we'd want all our junk food to be? So Doom Eternal is delicious junk food because you can get into it right away. It doesn't take much for you to understand that, yeah, I like that. But the nutritional content is there too. First of all, the game is huge. It's going to be a 20+ hour campaign, and that's just single player alone. Who knows how replayable the multiplayer side will be. And the game goes deeper as you kind of get into it even more. With Doom 2016, one of their critiques was that the second half or the third act of the game got quite repetitive as you started kind of mastering all the tools that you already had at your disposal. And not too many new things were introduced, you were just forced to use it in a grander scale. With Doom Eternal, they're going to continuously throw new things your way. You're going to be continuously progressing well into the second half or the third act of the game. So in essence, the junk food doesn't get stale because you know that it has that nutritional content you need to keep you engaged, keep you coming back for more. Plus, make no mistakes about it, Doom Eternal knows that it is a video game. In fact, there are floating 1-ups or extra lives in the level, like a Doom Slayer's helmet icon, just floating out there for you to grab. And because it's in your face like that, when you're blazing through in your race car, it's easier to identify the things in this world, which just makes everything more fun in general. That means Doom Eternal, like junk food, is easier to consume right away. It's not pretending to be something else. I don't know if you've ever tried certain healthy junk food, like, oh yeah, this is the healthy version of this, but it never, ever tastes like what it's supposed to. And this nutritional content keeps you coming back for more because it's rewarding. So those 1-ups that I mentioned, I mean, they're gonna be slightly out of the way. They're just not handed to you. So since they're slightly out of the way, you have to solve the traversal puzzle or find the secret in order to earn those 1-ups. And then, if and when you may die, you'll be pushed right back into the action. So you'll actually feel rewarded that you took the time, went out of your way to get or find that extra life. Plus, for those of us that actually want to know more about the Doom Slayer, they're going to have nutritional content in the form of an actual, better, deeper story in Doom Eternal. There's cutscenes this time, and the codex will go even deeper. So that nutritional content is there, and it's not for everyone. And if you don't like it, cool, skip over it. But the fact of the matter is, as a whole, it's still junk food that everybody loves. Those are the 7 design principles that I've heard these developers mention over and over. And the first 2, you can see absolutely push forward combat and combat chess. You can see that all over Doom 2016. So I am anxious, I can't wait to get my hands on Doom Eternal and see how the rest unfolds. Because the fun of the game isn't necessarily learning how to play it, it's learning how to master it. And when you have all these design principles to really put you into the front seat and to that fun zone, and then once you figure things out and you really start learning how to master them, well then the fun just kind of, the replayability just kind of builds on itself there. And then tack on the fact that you got this multiplayer mode that's supposed to bring the experience of single player into this multiplayer universe. Man, the replayability sounds like it's going to be out of this world. So what parts of Doom Eternal are you most excited about? Which one of these design principles do you think are going to really make the biggest difference for when you get your hands on the game? All right, that's it for me. I've talked enough. I hope that Doom Eternal is here very, very soon for you, and I hope that you guys are looking forward to the game just as much as I am. And if you are, and you want to continue this journey with me, consider subscribing, hit that bell so that way you're notified when I do get the chance to post another video. And if you want, follow me on Twitter. I'm doing a lot of posting on there and trying to round up all the different Doom Eternal sources that I come across because, again, like I said, I'm excited and I want to share that journey with you guys. Again, my name is ImageOmega and I hope to see you guys in the game.